This is Star Wars canon via the comics for the month of March 2016. I realize this is super late. I will try to never be this late with canon for the month in the future. So for the month of March, we got Darth Vader issue number 17 and 18, Star Wars issue number 17, Obi-Wan and Anakin issue number 3, and Kanan issue number 12. And I'm first going to do Darth Vader's issue 17 and 18, and then I'll just go by release week throughout the month. Alright, starting with Darth Vader issue number 17 and 18, we're in the middle of the show-to-run wars. And a quick refresher if you don't remember, I know it's been a long time since I've talked to Canon, or if you just want a little refresher in general. It is a time of unrest. Following the destruction of the Death Star, Darth Vader has shown zero mercy towards any rebel sympathizers. After assassinating most of the royal family on the planet of Childe and placing their youngest daughter, Trios, on the throne, talks of rebellion from the Ore Barons have still persisted. The newly appointed queen has found herself in the middle of a war on her home planet. While she tries to comply with Vader's orders, her people still resist. Angered by the Empire's continued mistreatment, they have fought back, recruiting the aid of Silo to bring an end to Vader's brutality. Alas, no secret is kept from Vader for long, who has suspected betrayal and prepared accordingly. Meanwhile, Vader's secret ally, Dr. Aphra, remains in rebels' hands. He has issued a bounty for her recovery, dead or alive. This issue starts with a holovid being shown to the Ore Barons, and Vader letting them know that if they don't surrender now, he is just going to wreck them. And the Ore Baron Rubix talks to the other Ore Barons via a holovid and lets them know that in the past the royal family served them, and in return the Ore Barons protected them. And this new queen, Queen Trios, needs to be reminded of that. They demonstrate how serious they are and try to remind the queen of this by attacking her while she's at a royal retreat, a place of peace for thousands of years. It goes against their very culture to attack this place. The Ore Baron ship surfaces from the lava surrounding the palace and opens fire on the sacred site. The queen goes to retreat in her ship, but Vader stops her, takes control of the ship, and starts going towards the vessel that was opening fire on the palace. And he goes to jump board the firing ship and tells the twins, "With me, twins, if you dare." And I really like this line, one, because it's very Bamf, but two, because Vader is always testing them, knowing that they're weak and wanting them to expose some sort of weakness. So it's a test. Yeah, I'm gonna go do this. Come with me too. If you dare, if you're strong enough, oh, are you not powerful enough? You'll never replace me. On the enemy ship, he commands the twins to destroy every bulkhead and descend to the starboard base of the hull while he goes to the port. They reach their destination, and Vader instructs them to use their lightsabers to cut a hole in the ship and allow the lava to pour in. They ask how they are to escape, and Vader responds, by leaving the ship, swiftly. If you are incapable of that, it is no concern of mine. But the twins are much quicker than what he thought, and they beat Vader on the escape, which probably put a little twist in Vader's panties. Trios, after seeing the enemy ship, recognizes it as Baron Rubik's ship, and she lets Vader know that, and Vader plans on paying his kindness in turn, and he tells Silo to prepare his abominations, which are the twins. We later see Silo in a workshop, and he's grumbling, saying if Vader knew what he owed him, he would show him more respect. And this is very interesting because it indicates that Silo is the one that created the prosthetics and attached them to Vader after his lava fun time. While he's grumbling, General Tag communicates with Silo, commanding him to make sure that they win the war on the planet, but make sure it is the Empire's victory, not Vader's. Silo then meets with the Ore Barons, offering to give them Vader. Meanwhile, the female twin ends up approaching Vader and asking him to teach her, and Vader dismisses her, letting her know that all the lessons he has to teach would be wasted on her, and she walks away. Vader then is approached by his droids that let him know that Aphra has been brought in by a bounty hunter, and the bounty hunter reveals that he had to disintegrate her. Vader, however, knows that he's lying and ends up killing him, and then gives the corpse to his droids and tells them to let this be a lesson to other bounty hunters and let them know that if they make the same mistake in trying to trick him, they'll also be dead. So continuing on with Darth Vader issue number 18, this is still in the middle of the war, and we open up with BT and 000. The two lovable droids are talking about how lovely the war is. 000 assures BT that there are plenty of things he loves about organics. As he tosses one into the lava, he explains like that wonderful smell as they burn to a crisp. These two droids are the absolute best. If you are not reading the Darth Vader series, you are missing out. For many reasons, but one of those reasons is how terrifying these two droids are. Meanwhile, Vader is leading a ship for the final battle while the Queen watches safely. Vader's last battle will be destroying Ore Baron Rubik's Dwelving Citadel. Vader commands them to strike on his command, but Silo has sabotaged their ship and the controls fail. Their ship ends up sinking into the ground. And finally the droids ask where they are, as the ship is swarmed by the Ore Baron's army. Vader replies, "In a trap. Activate siege defenses now." Vader commands the twins with him and they begin to take out the army. At the same time, 000 gets some droid friends to help and they easily clear away the Ore Baron's men. Silo, who is being the uber evil backstabbing guy, messages Queen Trios and lets her know stop the attack, and she doesn't want to. And Silo lets her know, you don't have the backing of the Imperial Army, you don't control them. We're stopping right now. But she still wants to fight, so she decides, fine, I don't have the Imperials behind me, but I am still going to take my own army and attack. But her advisor vetoes her and tells her, no, you're not going to. At least not without the Imperials backing her. Meanwhile, Vader notices the attack has been called off and the outbound communications have been jammed. Vader decides to continue while the troopers hold the position. The troopers claim that they don't have enough men to hold the position, but 000 offers a suggestion. After a kinda long speech, he talks about having technology to drain human blood to drive an engine of his own design. It gets really disturbing when he begins to talk of inserting probes into the arteries of organics to refuel. I have to say one of my favorite moments of this issue follows this. So 000 gives this huge speech about draining the blood of organics and then putting probes in their arteries to refuel. It's just really grotesque. And Vader just looks at him and goes, no. And 000 tries to press it and Vader goes, you will regret pressing this droid. It was just an amazing couple panels. I absolutely love Vader versus 000 because 000 is so Vader's done some messed up things, but 000 just goes into a whole different category for Vader, and I think sometimes Vader is surprised at the level of cruelty and torture he can go to. Or maybe not, maybe Vader's just pissed that he didn't think of it. Vader leaves the stormtroopers and heads out with the twins to take care of Rubik's. Back with the Queen, she tells her advisor, you need to change your mind, I need to attack, and he says no, and so she has her men execute him as a traitor, and then goes to war. The last pages, the twins predictably turn on Vader, telling him they can't believe he trusted them. Vader responds, if I trusted you, I'd have left you at the siege. Instead, I tested your character. You failed. See, this is proof Vader was meant to be a dad. He has that whole disappointed talk that just crushes you to your soul. And the end of this war will be seen in the April comic, which I swear, get out in the next couple weeks. Next, Kanan issue 12, and it was the last issue for this series. Here's a quick refresher. This series takes place 14 years after the defeat of the Jedi Order, and Emperor Palpatine now rules the galaxy with an iron fist. Rebels have banded together to fight back. Among them is Jedi Padawan Caleb, that now goes by Canon Jarrus. On what was supposed to be a simple run to pick up supplies, forces Kanan to revisit his past, and have a lot of flashbacks. Kanan has recovered from his injury, but he has one last thing to take care of. With their mission complete, picking up supplies on Collar, the Ghost heads back to Lothal to drop them off. Kanan and Ezra instead travel with Key to answer the message of an old friend, MrFifaSA. And while Kanan breaks down their mission and why they're going to go see MrFifaSA, he keeps referring to himself in the third person, and people start to notice. At Moraga, MrFifaSA tells Kanan her husband has been taken by the Empire for joining a rebel cell. Kanan agrees to rescue MrFifaSA and informs her that it is no longer safe for her family. Instead, his friend Key will take them to Collar and give them new identities. MrFifaSA gives Kanan his ship back, the Escape, that the family had been keeping safe for Kanan on and off throughout the years. Ezra and Kanan head out to rescue her husband. At the outpost at Ilmek Island Spaceport, they spot MrFifaSA with 2 troopers and an officer. Kanan gives Ezra the task of distracting the troopers, which he sorta does, and they end up chasing after him while Kanan breaks into the prison. And who shows up? Vice Admiral Sloane. If you read A New Dawn, she was a pain in the ass for Kanan, and he kinda had the hots for her in a hit it and quit it kinda way, I guess. She's made a hobby of tracking down Kanan after he embarrassed her a few times. So she tracked his history all the way back to MrFifaSA, and when she discovered MrFifaSA was a rebel, she arrested him and hoped Kanan would show up. It kind of ends abruptly with Sloane being force-knocked into a panel and losing consciousness. Not exactly how I would have liked their reunion to happen, and it was very anticlimactic, but I think they were just trying to stuff some old characters in the series to just wrap it up. Kanan then gets MrFifaSA to the ship and Ezra shows up, though much later than he should have. When Sloane regains consciousness, the Emperor's Grand Inquisitor, who you can see more of in Star Wars Rebels Season 1, shows up and asks her to tell him everything she knows about Kanan. On caller, Key announces he gave the family new identities and a safe place to hide the escape, and transport to Lothal for Kanan and Ezra. Kanan finally asks Ezra why he was so late. Ezra reveals he was cornered in a dead-end alley by a couple of troopers when a random guy helped him out. On a ship, Janus Casimir, notorious rogue, is asked why he was late, and he responds, "Some random kid got cornered in an alley by a couple bucketheads, so I helped him out." When asked who the kid was, he responds, "He didn't stop to tell me, just said thanks and took off." When asked why he got involved, he thoughtfully answers, "I don't know, Cleve. I think maybe the kid reminded me of someone." And there's an image of young Kanan. If you forgot or you didn't read the beginning of the series, Janos and Cleve are 2 people that helped Kanan out when the Jedi Purge happened, when he was still known as Caleb, and he was a Padawan on the run, and they ended up helping him out. So I think this was another way of kind of just neatly bringing everything together, kind of going full circle from the beginning of the series all the way till now. It was an alright series. I think it kind of dragged on a little bit. The series could actually have been a few issues shorter, but overall it was a good series. I would recommend it, especially if you like Kanan's character from Star Wars Rebels or from the book A New Dawn. Next, Obi-Wan and Anakin issue 3, a small refresher on this series. Young Anakin Skywalker has become unsure of his place within the Jedi Order, despite Obi-Wan's efforts to get him to stay. When Anakin and Obi-Wan receive a distress call summoning them to a planet, the 2 are caught up in a battle between 2 warring factions of the planet's primitive residents. When the fighting ends, 3 native survivors strike a truce in order that they might travel with the Jedis to safety. This issue begins with Grecker awfully interested in where the Jedi distress signal was coming from, but Obi-Wan telling him not to mind it. Oddly, the Closed and Open who are on the ship together are beginning to work together and be peaceful with each other, and Obi-Wan is pleased about this, even if it seems slightly suspicious to the comic readers. As they're flying through the air, eventually a kite comes up and it's carrying a box, and they pull it in, and they reveal a piece of art which they promptly destroy. When Anakin asks why they did that, Kolara explains that those type of things are forbidden, and she has a piece that she hadn't destroyed even though she's told she's not supposed to have it. In a flashback to Coruscant, we see more of Anakin and Palpatine's adventure. At a club, Palpatine thanks Anakin for taking time from his Jedi training to join him. He tells Anakin he envies the Padawans, training in the temple like they do. Their entire life decided forever at such a young age. It must simplify things. Them having no troubling choices to make. Not like him. His entire life is difficult decisions. I'm on to you. Anakin looks a bit sad, but replies that it is the best thing that ever happened to him. Palpatine then, so subtly, drops that anything could be bought at this club. Even people. Then he goes, "Oops. Sorry, Anakin. I forgot where you came from, and you used to be a slave." And I'm sure Palpatine didn't do that on purpose, bringing up how Anakin is basically a slave to the Jedi and has no choices, and then talking about his old slave life. Nice. Work those talents in. Anakin asks that if this place is so corrupted, why isn't it shut down? Palpatine tells him that it's full of senators with too much power. He points out a senator, Colandrus, of the Scintilla system, who treats the Senate as his personal bank and makes withdrawals from every planet in his influence, trading favors for credits. And it works. He's one of the most influential members of the Senate, and that influence is for sale. And now Palpatine is working in young Anakin's head that the Senate is evil and they're corrupt, and poor Palpatine is working so hard against this system and trying to fix everything. Anakin can trust him, not the other senators. You don't know how evil or corrupt they are. He goes further to say he wishes the chance cubes would turn against the senator, and that since he was a slave to his impulses, he would keep gambling if he was losing, which would lead to bigger bribes to make up the loss, and finally leave a trail Palpatine's agents could follow, so he could remove the senator and return justice to the Senate. But something happens when the senator rolls, and he loses. Outside the club, Palpatine asks Anakin if his Jedi abilities allow him to move objects through Force. Anakin admits that he can, and he's very good at it, better than any other Padawan his age, and most of the older ones too. Palpatine further pries, could those abilities be used to move perhaps a chance cube? And it's revealed Anakin did just that. As they walk together, Palpatine's smile is hidden in his hood. Seriously, look at that smile. He knows exactly what he's doing. The flashback ends and we're back on the airship. Anakin shows proficiency with technology, something Kolaran takes notice of and shares with Mother Pran. At the same time, Grecker inquires about Anakin, the Jedi, and Obi-Wan's role in his life. He explains that Anakin is important. He has extraordinary potential both with respect to his own abilities and in his ability to affect the balance of good and evil in the universe. He requires guidance, and he swore to provide it. And this is where it gets a little bit sad. He admits to Grecker that Anakin is asking a lot of questions, and that's perfectly normal for someone his age, but Obi-Wan feels like he doesn't have the right answers for Anakin and that he's failing him, and that Anakin is a very impatient boy, and he hasn't been able to teach him patience, and that impatience is making it that Anakin wants to leave the Jedi Order to strike out on his own path. And Obi-Wan knows that if he can't convince Anakin to stay with the Jedi, it's going to cause a lot of problems. During their conversation, Mother Pran has Anakin fix a central processor for a droid. When he does, Mother Pran tells him he's their savior. Kolara grabs his lightsaber and throws it overboard. Mother Pran knocks out Anakin, and they head off the ship with the boy. As they flee, they blow up the airship with Obi-Wan and Grecker still on board. Absolutely love this miniseries. It's only 5 issues, which is incredibly disappointing because I feel we can have a much longer series just on Palpatine digging his claws into Anakin and seeing them, because this takes place between episode 1 and episode 2. So seeing Obi-Wan and Anakin bond and Obi-Wan struggling with being a teacher and feeling like he's failing. We can go so many other places with this, and I'm really hoping that we get a longer series out of this if enough fans are like, yeah, this was absolutely amazing, which it is. Lastly, Star Wars issue 17, here's a refresher. It is a period of renewed hope for the rebellion. The Death Star has been destroyed. Han Solo and Luke are on a mission, and Leia has brought Dr. Aphra to the Sunspot prison. Unfortunately, at the prison, a security breach happens, and with Han and Luke, Han loses money that was supposed to be used to replenish supplies for the Alliance through gambling. Now they have to make that money up before Leia finds out. In the prison, Leia and Sanaa clear out an area, but then they find out that the control room has been overtaken by the intruders, and the man that is in the control room is just such a pompous asshole. He reveals that he's not there to break anyone out, but hurt the bad people within. He demonstrates this by having his droids open fire on some prisoners. Leia destroys the droids, telling the man he's a murderer. Leia then informs the man she won't let him gun the prisoners down. He knows, but that's because she feels she's fighting a noble war, and there's nothing noble about war. Soon she'll understand that if she wants to win. Sanaa agrees with the guy, no surprise, and Leia says he won't kill anyone else. The lights turn off, Leia manages to corral the prisoners without killing them, and this pisses the guy off, and he ends up separating Sanaa and Leia from the prisoners, and opens up the sun blinders and disintegrates the men. And this guy just then keeps prattling on about how she needs to learn to kill to win the war, which, to be honest, Leia in the past has had zero problem sending men to their deaths, so I don't know where he's coming from. But he continues on about being a murderer because she made him. Same self-entitled, oh boo-hoo, I'm this way because I had to be. I'm right, you're wrong, I'm gonna force my beliefs on you. Leia then heads to Aphra's cell and releases her, asking her if she feels like taking over a prison. And the best line of this issue, you're kidding, right? I was gonna do that anyways. On the smuggler's moon, Luke finds a man that needs transport. For 5,000 credits, he allows the man to board with his cargo, which are nerfs, and Han is pissed. On their way, they are intercepted by Imperials, who believe they are transporting illegal livestock. They squabble as they attempt to get away. And you're gonna have to wait a few weeks to figure out what happens with the Mr. Drama Queen in the prison and with Luke and Han. So that is Star Wars canon for the month of March 2016. Besides that, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. It helps the channel out a lot. Besides that, come back for more Star Wars videos, Game of Thrones videos, comic videos, and anything sci-fi fantasy related.